after getting married or then after having kids, it becomes very difficult to get back to your work. And
Absolutely.
even if we try, there is a lot of self-doubt if we can, if we will be able to do. So I just want you to share with our audiences, how did you deal uh, with that self-doubt?
ये बहुत ही एक एक बहुत इनेट टेंडेंसी है हमारी, जिसमें हम हमेशा, अगर मेरे बारे में कुछ अच्छा भी है और कुछ बुरा भी है, द फर्स्ट थिंग जो मैं करूंगी इज टू फोकस ऑन माई नेगेटिव. वी आर ऑल नॉट फॉर्चुनेट टू इवन अंडरस्टैंड कि हम अपने आप को सेल्फ क्रिटिसिज्म से कैसे निकालें. इट्स नॉट ईजी. Our brain really doesn't have the capacity to, segregate things unless we don't do for it. मैं उसको बहुत ही एक इनोसेंट पार्ट बोलती हूँ हमारा. आप उसको जो बोलोगे वो मान जाएगा. बट उस उनको जो फीड करने से पहले मैं क्या फिल्टर कर रही हूँ वो बहुत मायने रखता है. बट दैट वन थिंग विच वॉज जनरलाइज टू अ फ्यू मोर थिंग्स इन माई लाइफ, इट जस्ट मेड मी बिलीव दैट इट इज ट्रू. And that just made me feel that, okay, everything is coming to an end and life is hopeless. Right? We don't have to say that, oh, everything is great, all is good, life is beautiful. No, we don't have to say that. Life is good with certain parts that are not working.
Hey, Suman, a warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for considering me for this podcast. I'm really obliged for the same. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And before we begin, I want you to give an introduction. Like, can you tell us about yourself, your work in counseling?
Sure. I am Suman Khanna, and I'm a counseling psychologist. A little bit about myself with the background where I've born and brought up. I am from Bombay. I've born and brought up here and studied and completed all my studies also from Bombay. And I have done my master's in clinical psychology. There was a quite a long break after my master's, and when I started practicing, it was almost like a 10 to 13 year sabbatical. And during that sabbatical, I was always, you know, always wanting to get back to my work, but due to my personal commitments, I couldn't. And meanwhile, I tried a lot of things while I could still be at home for that commitment. But it seemed like my calling was always here. And after 13 years, that's when my children grew up, and I was like, okay, now it's time for me to get back. And getting back to this field after 13 years was like as if I have been just put up in a new country altogether, new place, and I didn't know where to go, what to do. And I did not imagine you've been put up in a country and you do not have a Google map there. So it's about just, kind of locating yourself, finding that mentor. It was quite a struggle for me at that point. But it happened so that things started falling in place and I met the right people, and I was, under the right mentoring, and that really helped me to come back. And it was only 2020 when I got back with a bang, and there was no looking back after this. When we talk about my background, like my academics, if I talk about, I have been trained in cognitive behavior therapy and rational emotive behavior therapy. And currently, in fact, I'm undergoing multiple trainings right now. I'm training in clinical trauma specialist, and also a therapy called as IFS. I'm also a Gottman couple therapist. For me, psychology was always like calling for me, like, it was like, okay, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I've been always very passionate about helping people reconnect with their most human selves. A lot of times we lose our real self over all the struggles, the pain, the challenges that we go through. And this was very interesting for me to really help them get back to their human self. And as far as when we talk about the mental health, I understand that it is not about fixing ourselves, but it is about understanding our own thoughts, honoring our emotions, and then understanding that, learning to respond is better than reacting. And this has kind of wanting me to, get to this field and kind of help people to reconnect with the same concept, which has been, I think, a void for a very long time for a lot of people. And that's about me. And a little bit more could be that I am married and I have two boys, and very much in Bombay right now.
Thanks for sharing that, Suman. That's really an inspiring journey, I would say.
it, it is
It
for me
is, it
too,
is.
honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
So, Suman, I want to ask that as you mentioned sabbatical, like you had gap
Hmm.
about 12 to 13 years, then you got back to your work. So a lot
Yeah.
of women can connect with your journey, right?
Right.
Because after getting married or then after having kids, it becomes very difficult to get back to your work. And
Absolutely.
even if we try, there is a lot of self-doubt if we can, if we will be able to do. So I just want you to share with our audiences, how did you deal uh, with that self-doubt?
So honestly, I think self-doubt is always a part of us, right? Even today, like, when we are like, it's a part of a being, right? But it just, at that point, that stage, that transition stage that I was in, I was struggling a lot with that. And there were times where, when I was under someone, and uh, one fine day that person comes and tells me that, you know what, Suman, it's going to be tough for you. And a person who's already struggling with that transition, already, not sure as to which direction to go, and someone coming up and telling you that, it just confirms for you that okay, you are not doing the right thing, right? And that just took me, I don't know how many steps back, and I was in my shell for so long until I met, a mentor who told me that, there's no looking back for you and you're doing an excellent job. Maybe that mentor knew that I would still take some time, but those words kind of kept ringing in my head that okay, this is where I am supposed to be. And the confidence that that person ingrained in me, it was only wanting me to learn more, experience more, and give back to the society more. And I think that experience helped me to overcome my self doubt. But it's just that line, it's just a statement, how we very casually tell people it. We don't even realize what those words would do to that person and what that person is struggling through. And at that point, that just stayed with me for so much, so that I was almost thinking to step back. I didn't want to go ahead till the time, I found someone who really mentored me in a way and was like, no, Suman, there's no looking back, you're doing an excellent job, believe in yourself. And that kind of helped me to really work upon. So if you ask me that, women who are relating to this struggle or to this transition that I've gone through, I would just say that I know it is very difficult to find people who can really believe in you. There are very few people on this earth that will believe in you, but find that person for yourself. That's, sometimes that external motivation really works for you. And then, of course, believe in what you're doing. Every time that you get distracted, make sure that you focus back on the hard work that you're putting in and believe that this is going to really turn up into something very beautiful in future. And I think that just worked for me at that point.
Yeah. And I think you were fortunate enough that you found someone who really helped you or inspired you or motivated you. But I also feel that not everyone is that lucky, that they'll get
Absolutely.
someone who
Absolutely.
will support them. So at that time, also,
Right.
I feel that you should be maybe self-motivated, or, you know, that you have to deal with yourself, like self-criticism as well, where you are just criticizing yourself. So a lot of people deal with self-criticism, self-doubt, and there is a lot of negative thought pattern that I'm
Right.
like this, I'm not good enough, or I won't be able to do it. So how to deal with that self-criticism?
So see, there is when we talk about that negative self-talk, right?
Yes,
When we are
yes.
talking about when we think negatively, when we specifically talk about that, there are two things that I would like to mention here. One is that I know that we are not always fortunate to find that person. But here, I would just like to add one point that if you see that that self criticism is too chronic, and if you see that you're stuck in that cycle, while you may not be fortunate to cross paths with someone who can really help you and you know ingrain that self belief in you, but you always have people around whom you can reach out to, who can help you to overcome that self criticism, right? So there have been times that I have taken therapy as well. And when I reached out, so while I was fortunate enough to have that mentor in my life, but I was still dealing with a lot of self doubt at that point. So I reached out to a therapist. I remember when the first session ever happened in my life, I had a session for myself before that. So, taking help from the right person also helps you to overcome that self criticism as well. Now, coming to understanding what it is, right? So, when we talk about this negative thoughts, or when we talk about negative self criticism, see, the negative bias, when it's called as negative bias in our psychology, if we talk about the psychological term. So when we talk about this negative bias, this is ये बहुत ही एक बहुत innate tendency है हमारी, जिसमें हम हमेशा, अगर मेरे बारे में कुछ अच्छा भी है और कुछ बुरा भी है, the first thing जो मैं करूंगी is to focus on my negative.
mm,
सो इट्स अ वेरी नेचुरल टेंडेंसी, हम ये सब इंसानों में ये कॉमन है. बट प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं है कि हम में वो नेगेटिव थॉट क्यों है. प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं है कि नेगेटिव थॉट क्यों आता है. प्रॉब्लम तब आती है जब हम इस नेगेटिव थॉट के साथ एक मीनिंग अटैच करते हैं, और वहां पर हम साइकिल में फंस जाते हैं. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स से इफ आई डोंट गेट अ जॉब, ओके, आई अप्लाइड फॉर अ जॉब और मुझे जॉब नहीं मिला फॉर दैट मैटर. अब जॉब नहीं मिलना एक पेनफुल इवेंट है, इट इज अ सिचुएशन, राइट? हम सब इस चीज से निकलते हैं. लेकिन नहीं मिलने पर जो मैं मीनिंग अटैच कर रही हूँ, दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम देयर. बिकॉज नहीं मिलने पर आई एम सेइंग ओके, आई एम नॉट गुड इनफ, or I was not a good candidate, or I am not capable. The meaning that we attach to that situation is the reason, or is the place where we are actually spiraling down, and is a source of all the negative and critical self thinking. So when you take, sometimes it's possible कि आप खुद को help कर सको, but again we are all not fortunate to even understand कि हम अपने आप को वो self criticism से कैसे निकालें. It's not easy. While I just sit here and say that, so what happens is कि जब हम किसी की guidance के through करते हैं, हम ये negative bias को एक realistic thinking में convert करते हैं. और इस नेगेटिव बायस को हम पॉजिटिव में नहीं कन्वर्ट करते. पॉजिटिव का मतलब ये हुआ कि कोई बात नहीं, इट्स ओके, चलता है, कल और आ जाएगा, एवरीथिंग इज फाइन, दैट इज पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग. बट
mm,
रियलिस्टिक थिंकिंग इज कि हो सकता है कि मुझसे कुछ गलती हुई होगी जॉब एप्लीकेशन में, या मेरे क्रेडेंशियल्स थोड़े कम होंगे, बट ये भी हो सकता है कि उनके सिस्टम फैक्टर्स भी होंगे जिस वजह से आई एम नॉट सिलेक्टेड. So now you are attaching a realistic meaning to the painful situation. And that is how you can help yourself break from this cycle and help yourself come out of it. Otherwise, what happens is, एक thought negative आया कि okay, I did not get a job because I'm not capable, because I'm not good enough, my life is a disaster, I will always remain, I will always be without a job, how will I run a family? So this is spiraling down into negative cycle. बट लेकिन अगर मैं जब स्पाइरल डाउन करने के समय, अगर मैं पहले या सेकेंड स्टेप पे ही उसको ब्रेक फ्री कर दूं, और मैं उस पर रियलिस्टिक मीनिंग अटैच कर दूं, आई विल स्टार्ट कमिंग आउट ऑफ द नेगेटिव. एंड दैट कैन हेल्प यू टू कम आउट ऑफ योर सेल्फ क्रिटिसिज्म एज वेल.
understood. Okay. So, I would like to know what is the connection between self-awareness and confidence? Like, is it like if you are aware about yourself more, then you'll be more confident? Is it true?
Hmm. Uh, so, um, यहाँ पर व्हेन यू आस्क मी दिस क्वेश्चन जाहिन, मैं इनफैक्ट मैं ये थोड़े क्वेश्चन को थोड़ा सा ट्वीक करने की कोशिश करूंगी, क्योंकि दे आर नॉट टू सेपरेट एंटिटीज। जब हम सेल्फ अवेयरनेस और सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस की बात करते हैं, वो they are they are kind of related in a way that self awareness is a foundation of your confidence, राइट? सो दे आर नॉट टू सेपरेट थिंग्स कि कॉन्फिडेंस अलग है और सेल्फ अवेयरनेस अलग है, या किसी एक चीज को हासिल करने पे एक चीज मिलती है, ऐसे नहीं है। बट इट इज अबाउट, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट सेल्फ अवेयरनेस, इज इट इज about knowing yourself in a way that creates a good foundation for you to create confidence. अब हम कई बार ना कॉन्फिडेंस को एक पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट जैसे मानते हैं
हम्म,
कि मेरे में है और दूसरों में नहीं है। But actually, it is not a fixed trait. Confidence is not a fixed trait. It's not a personality trait. See, we all are, everybody, I would say everyone, we all are born with a tendency to learn, to evolve, to grow. हम सब में वो है एक, we are all hungry for that, to learn, to grow. We are curious about things around us. We want to achieve certain things in our life. We try to fulfill our own potential. हम सब में है। अब यहाँ पर एक चेंज आता है कि कॉन्फिडेंस जो है वो डेवलप तब होता है जब हम अपने इस ग्रोथ को, या जो मेरी इच्छा है इवॉल्व होने को, जब हम उसे एक्शन में डालते हैं, राइट? हमें ये
हम्म,
लगता है कि unless I don't feel confident, I will not be able to act in a certain way, but that's not true. I will be in fact be able to achieve confidence if I act in a certain way. So for example, let's say that if I am not confident of riding a cycle, right, and I'm waiting for that day कि मैं confident feel करूंगी, and then I will sit on the cycle. बट कॉन्फिडेंस साइकिल चलाने से पहले नहीं आता। जब हम साइकिल चला लेते हैं, उसके बाद हमें कॉन्फिडेंस आता है। एंड सेल्फ अवेयरनेस उसके बहुत पहले आता है कि ओके, आई एम नॉट रेडी टू राइड अ साइकिल, आई एम एंशियस to ride a cycle, I'm fearful that I might fall. That is the foundation. So when I'm aware about it, I start building my actions over it. And after those actions is what I receive confidence. सो यहाँ पर हम हमेशा एक ग्लिच कर देते हैं कि हम हमेशा या तो कॉन्फिडेंस का वेट करते हैं, या तो हम ये मानते हैं कि कॉन्फिडेंस एक पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेट है। बट ट्रस्ट मी, नोबडी इज बॉर्न विथ कॉन्फिडेंस।
हम्म,
It's just that we, with our experience, obviously, first self awareness, about being aware about your own self, about your fears in this situation. Like I gave you an example of a cycle, being aware of your own situation, your fears, understanding what is stopping you from riding the cycle. That's the foundation. Then you work upon it. When you work upon that awareness, you start learning to ride the cycle. And that's where you get that confidence. And then for the next time, you're all up there. That is what confidence, that is what is the relationship between self awareness and self confidence.
yes. And basically, you need evidence to be confident, right?
You need experience,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because unless wo experience nahi hoga, I will not
Mhm.
be able to find that evidence also.
Yeah. Action
So
leads
it
to
is important.
confidence.
Yes, yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Taking action.
You, yes, action comes first.
Yeah. I got that.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so as you are a CBT expert, and I would like to ask that, a lot of people deal with overthinking. So, like for example, in my case also, I always think about my past mistakes. I always worry about my future, like how I'm gonna do in
Hmm.
my career, what I'm going to do, and there's a lot of things. Sometimes I get stuck into the loop.
Hmm.
And then it becomes very difficult for me to deal with that. I cannot just stop my
Hmm.
mind. It's
Hmm.
what is the suggestion, or what would be the practical techniques you can suggest to deal with overthinking?
बिकॉज यू स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन सीबीटी, तो बहुत सारे टेक्निक्स हैं इसके लिए, बहुत सारे स्किल्स हैं जो हम अपने क्लाइंट्स को एम्पावर करते हैं सो दैट दे कैन लर्न टू ओवरकम ओवर थिंकिंग. बट वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इफेक्टिव इन माई एक्सपीरियंस, इन माई क्लिनिकल एक्सपीरियंस, जो मैं बहुत सारे क्लाइंट्स को हेल्प करती हूँ, उसे अगर अगर आप प्रैक्टिकली एक प्रैक्टिकल स्किल अगर आप मुझसे पूछ रहे हो, so there is this technique called as a 3C technique. The first thing before we understand the 3C technique, let's understand ki why is it that, or probably because you said that you've experienced this, maybe you could give me a better understanding that generally when is it that you tend to get stuck into that overthinking cycle?
Uh, Often it happens when I'm sad about something,
Hmm.
and if my mood is off, when maybe something happened with my friends or family members, I
Hmm.
become very negative. Even I see every little thing in a very negative way. And then
All
I feel like
aspects of that situation.
all aspects of life becomes very
Hmm.
negative for me. All
Hmm.
experiences
Hmm.
becomes very negative. मतलब हर इंसान
Hmm.
खराब है, सब लोग मेरे बारे में
Hmm.
गलत सोच रहे हैं. At that moment it happens कि सब गलत है,
Hmm.
people are very wrong, सब मेरे
Hmm.
साथ
Hmm.
गलत करना चाहते हैं. And when I'm positive तो सब अच्छा है. That is
Hmm.
the moment कि अगर एक कोई ट्रिगर हुआ कुछ चीज, तो हर चीज खराब होने लगती है. And then I overthink about it a lot in a very negative way also.
सो दैट मीन्स कि एक सिचुएशन से आपकी 5 चीजें कनेक्ट हो
Attachment.
गई वहां पर,
Yes, correct,
राइट?
correct.
नाउ यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है जाहिन, एंड करेक्ट मी एज आई टॉक अबाउट इट, क्योंकि यू आर सैड अबाउट इट, राइट? समझो लेट्स से आपके दोस्त ने आपको कुछ बोल दिया, ठीक है? अब उन्होंने आपको रिजेक्ट कर दिया, समझो नेगेट कर दिया आपकी बात को. हम्म.
Mm.
अब उन्होंने किया, तो हमारा, जैसे मैंने, जब हमने स्टार्ट किया ये सेशन तो हमने यही बात की कि हम ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर वेरी, biologically, physiologically we are inclined towards negative bias,
Yeah,
राइट? सो मे बी अगर हमें आज थोड़ा सा टाइम मिलेगा, मे बी आई ट्राई टू पुट लाइट ऑन दैट व्हाई डू वी गेट इनटू नेगेटिव बायस आल्सो, आई विल कम टू दैट. बट राइट नाउ, व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि बिकॉज एक चीज गलत हुई, आपने क्या किया, आपने 4 चीजें और जो सिमिलर हैं, आपने वो सब चीजों को इनवाइट करके इसी में ही एक अच्छा कॉम्बिनेशन बनाकर आपने अपनी पूरी लाइफ को जनरलाइज कर दिया दैट नथिंग इज वर्किंग फॉर,
yeah.
राइट? सो दिस इज अगेन व्हाट वी कॉल एज स्पाइरलिंग डाउन. बट यहां पर हम 3C जब अप्लाई करते हैं, बेसिकली इट इट हैज स्टेप्स. फर्स्ट सी इज कैच, सेकेंड इज चेक, थर्ड इज चेंज. Okay, now when we catch, now in this whole situation that you mentioned, what is really making you feel sad? कि सब लोग ऐसे हैं, पूरी लाइफ मेरी ऐसी है, that's making you hopeless here, right? बिकॉज आपने एक चीज से सब लाइफ की सिचुएशंस को अप्लाई कर दिया, तो अब पूरी लाइफ ही हमें बुरी लग रही है, हमें पूरी लाइफ ही होपलेस लग रही है. सो आई, द स्टेटमेंट दैट इज कमिंग ऑन माई माइंड इज दैट माई लाइफ इज होपलेस, nothing seems to be working for me. For example, let's take this example. So now this particular thought I have caught. See, this is bothering me the most. Okay. Now
Mm.
this is the first step. Second step is check. जब हम स्पाइरल डाउन करते हैं, जब हम चेन ऑफ थॉट्स क्रिएट करते हैं, हम ये वाला स्टेप मिस कर देते हैं. डिड आई चेक इनफ कि मेरी लाइफ रियली होपलेस है? डिड आई चेक फॉर द एविडेंस हियर? जब मैं जनरलाइज कर रही हूं, इफ आई सिट डाउन, सो मे बी इफ आई सिट डाउन विथ यू एंड आई आस्क यू दैट ओके जाइन, इन दैट केस इट सीम्स लाइक नथिंग इन योर लाइफ इज वर्किंग फॉर यू, कुछ भी काम नहीं कर रहा. बट देन आई विल स्लोली ट्राई टू नैरो डाउन. ओके जाइन, मुझे आपके आपके करियर के बारे में बताइए. तो शायद मुझे जाइन बोलेगी, नहीं, इट्स नॉट दैट बैड, ठीक है, 80% अच्छा चल रहा है, और मे बी 60% अच्छा चल रहा है, ओके ग्रेट। फिर देन आई गो टू योर फ्रेंड्स। सब फ्रेंड्स ऐसे हैं क्या? लाइक कितने फ्रेंड्स हैं आपके? जाहिन मुझे बोलेगी मेरे तो 10 फ्रेंड्स हैं। किनके साथ अभी तकलीफ हुई? 2 के साथ। 8 भी ऐसे ही हैं? नहीं नहीं, 8 तो मेरे को मुझे फोन करके मेरे पे चेक करते हैं, तो 8 तो अच्छे हैं। ग्रेट। देन आई गो टू योर पेरेंट्स, मे बी योर होम, कि घर पे भी सब ऐसे ही हैं, कोई ध्यान नहीं देता, सब रिजेक्ट करते हैं, नेगेट। नहीं, मे बी सिबलिंग्स ऐसे कभी कभी कर लेते हैं, लेकिन जितना भी झगड़ा हो जाए दे स्टिल चेक ऑन मी। मॉम डैड भी कर लेते हैं, सोने मुझे सोने नहीं देंगे जब तक बात क्लियर ना हो जाए। ग्रेट। देन मे बी वी कुड लुक एट योर हॉबीज। वो भी कुछ काम नहीं कर रहे हैं। नो नो, हॉबीज आई एम डूइंग ग्रेट, वो तो एकदम ऑन ट्रैक है। आई गो फॉर माई डांस क्लासेस, आई गो फॉर माई गिटार। So then here I'm checking with you that when I'm saying that my life is hopeless, if I'm making the statement, I have to claim कि मेरा सब कुछ life में खराब चल रहा है. Which means, and because of which, see, when we say no, our brain really doesn't have the capacity to, segregate things unless we don't do for it. मैं उसको बहुत ही एक innocent part बोलती हूँ हमारा. आप उसको जो बोलोगे वो मान जाएगा. बट उनको जो फीड करने से पहले मैं क्या फिल्टर कर रही हूँ वो बहुत मायने रखता है. सो मैंने वो चेक वाला स्टेप नहीं किया. देन आई रियलाइज दैट नो, यू नो व्हाट. अच्छा, एंड देन विद दैट से 2 फ्रेंड्स जिनके साथ बहुत बुरा चल रहा है, क्या हमेशा ऐसे होता है कि आज जस्ट वन ऑफ दैट इंस्टेंस था? नहीं नहीं, लास्ट 1 साल से तो हमने झगड़ा ही नहीं किया, अभी जस्ट हुआ, वो भी एक बात पे हो गया. एंड अदरवाइज वो फ्रेंड्स कैसे हैं? अदरवाइज दे आर नाइस, आई हैव अ ग्रेट टाइम विद देम, आई एंजॉय. आई एम गिविंग यू वेरी सिंपल एग्जाम्पल. हो सकता है इससे
हम्म,
ज्यादा क्रॉनिक हो, सीरियस भी हो, बट हमें एक बहुत
हम्म,
सिंपल एग्जाम्पल दे रहे हैं. तो इस इन फ्रेंड्स के साथ भी मैं नहीं पूरी तरह बोल सकती हूँ कि इट इज होपलेस. बट दैट वन थिंग विच वॉज जनरलाइज टू अ फ्यू मोर थिंग्स इन माई लाइफ, it just made me believe that it is true. And that just made me feel that, okay, everything is coming to an end and life is hopeless. And that makes me feel sad, internalize, spiral down, and then everything looks very sad around me. And then the third step is changing. And this changing is what we just, when we spoke, when we started the session, saying that it has to be changed to a realistic thinking. Right? We don't have to say that, oh, everything is great, all is good, life is beautiful. No, we don't have to say that. Life is good with certain parts that are not working. A part of my life is not right in the right space right now, but the rest of the part is there. Now, when I do this, it's a very small thing. It may sound very lame, बहुत ही simple and sometimes silly भी sound करता है. But ये छोटी चीजें हैं जो हमारे brain में new pathways create करते हैं. अब एक एक रास्ता है, जब आप घर की तरफ जाते हो, सडनली वहां पे कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्क चालू हो जाता है, राइट? आपको डिटोर किया गया है वहां पर पहुंचने के लिए, लेकिन क्योंकि आपने वो पुराना रास्ता इतनी बार ट्रैवल किया है, यू विल कॉन्स्टेंटली मेक मिस्टेक्स बाय ड्राइविंग इन टू दैट रोड. देन यू विल रियलाइज, ओ सॉरी ये तो बंद है, ओ सॉरी ये तो बंद है. एंड आफ्टर 5-6 टाइम्स यू विल देन स्टार्ट टेकिंग द न्यू पाथ एज योर नेचुरल पाथ, कि नहीं यही रास्ते से जाना है. इसी तरह से हमारा माइंड भी नेगेटिव बायस पे ट्रेन होता है. इट जस्ट गोज ऑन टू दैट सेम पाथवे टाइम एंड अगेन. वी हैव टू कंस्ट्रक्ट अ न्यू पाथवे, न्यू रियलिस्टिक थिंकिंग, ताकि एंड द मोर आई ट्रैवल दैट पाथ, the more that becomes natural and concrete for me. And that's how you can actually step out of it.
okay. Yeah, understood. Okay, Suman. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. And it was really a great conversation with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.